I was watching this movie called Hell Dogs. Yo, this is fucking bonkers. So we got this guy by the name of Goro, right? He ends up killing some dude named Mad Dog, which he said he killed both his brothers to get to him. So why did he do this? Well, now he's a former cop, but back in his days when he was a cop, about 11 years ago, Mad Dog and his brothers went inside the supermarket and killed like 4 people, 3 girls. One of these girls just happened to be his girlfriend. So after he did this, he called the police and said there was a murder took place. Next thing we know, he's tied up in his random ass room. I'm like, what the heck happened to him? Turns out he's visited by Chief Mai and basically got a bunch of undercover cops. So basically what they wanted him to do was go over to Tokosai and go over cover and get into the Yakuza gang because a dude named Bear and Taki runs the organization. But the easiest way for him to get in is to get into this group called the Hell Dogs. Now this guy by the name of Slick is the leader of the Hell Dogs, but he doesn't think he's compatible with any one of the dudes there except for a guy by the name of Miro. Miro comes off regular, but we find out later in the movie he's like the psychopath of the whole group. The thing is, this Yakuza group is trying to take out this other competition led by the dude named George. Taki runs one side of the territories, George runs the other. His mission is to get into the group, get close enough to Taki, and finish his ass. A whole year goes by, and yeah, he's been befriended by Miro. They end up going into this abandoned housing complex. It looks like a torture chamber, but it's disguised with beautiful scenery in the background. So Goro and Miro are doing like training exercises or whatever like that. And by the way, Goro goes by the name of Tak, but for the sake of this video, I'm gonna keep calling him Goro. Because obviously he had to change his name, because if they found out he was Goro and he used to be a former cop, you think he was gonna be invited into the Yakuza? Fuck out of here. Let alone the Hell Dogs. So then Goro and Miro hide all of a sudden because a couple of people are supposed to be coming to this residence. A bunch of George's men, they looking over the territory, whatever like that. It's this old dude and like 4 other guys. Goro and Miro finish their ass off, done as shit. They get a couple of niggas there to bury the niggas, and then it's celebration. So then when the rest of the Yakuza go to this high-class hibachi steakhouse, they get a call from Barry, you know what I'm saying? He's with his girl, they doing some S&M shit. I'm like, some of the guys go along. Miro ends up staying talking to the waitress or whatever like that. Turns out her name is Anna, and they've actually been childhood friends for a long time. Goro ends up going to this massage parlor. He gets a massage from this chick named N. He starts talking to her about the case. You're like, what the fuck? Turns out she's actually an agent. So we're thinking to ourselves, what's she doing on this case? Well, apparently Taki ended up killing her son. She was also hired by the chief. Miro ends up taking Anna back to one of his safe houses or whatever like that, and he ends up clapping their cheeks. Meanwhile, Goro gets back to his spot and finds out somebody picked the lock. We're like, who is this? Turns out this chick, Nina, was in his crib and she's trying to get the business too. The thing is, Nina is Bear's girl. So yeah, that should be a problem automatically, right? But she's doing shit on the low. Clapping their cheeks anyway. So next day, Miro and Goro meet up with the rest of the Hell Dogs. Now in the video they showed us in the beginning, back in the day, the Hell Dogs, they was like going crazy, just wilding out, doing all type of shit. Slick, the leader, is more about just laid back now at this point. He's actually on his business consultant shit. But the real leader of the Hell Dogs led by Totosai. You know what? I messed up, my bad. Nina's boyfriend is Totosai. Bear was the one calling that night about the S&M shit. So my bad, I'm messing up names, bear with me. Then we get this scene where Goro and Miro actually go to the gym and work out, exercise, whatever like that. They got like casinos and all type of shit in this one building. Bear was the one that took them to this building. And this is where they first meet Taki. Now everybody in the group wears black, you know what I'm saying, business attire. Except for Taki, he's always wearing like these beige suits. Sometimes cream color, them shit's lit though. Now he wants Goro, Miro, and these 2 other guys to fight in the ring. But he makes them put on vests first. Then Taki turns around with 2 guns and bangs all 4 of them in the chest. I'm like, what the fuck? Then he tells them, get up and fight. Goro's slow to get up, he finishes off his opponent. Miro takes forever getting up. When he gets up, he finishes off his boy. So before this, we knew that Goro and Miro were the toughest niggas in the Hell Dogs, but that just certified it. So Taki wants them around everywhere he goes. They conduct some business and other transactions. All right, let's get to some good stuff. So it gets to the point where Taki's like, okay, bet. We already cleared 5 other dudes. Now we just got to get to George. He's the main focus on the subject. Because if they finish off George, Taki could claim all the territory. You see, the reason the chief wanted Goro to go undercover is because Taki can't be touched by the police. He's got pretty much everybody on his payroll. So after the business is done, we get this one scene where Miro meets back up with Anna again. But this time she wants him to meet the family. Everything's all happy and hunky-dory. Then they start sharing these crazy-ass stories. One of the girls talked about her father committed suicide. There's a bunch of craziness, and then they got to this other story where they was talking about these 3 girls that got shot in the supermarket. I was like, wait a minute, that sounds familiar. Goro ends up meeting up with the chief again, talking more information, you know, behind closed doors. Then he's walking to this other spot. So Miro's leaving out this restaurant. He's already getting in his car, and all the people are like, oh, they're just waving off to him, whatever like that. And they're like, hey, it's Goro, hey. And Goro's on the other side. We think to ourselves, how the fuck do they know that's him? This shit's gonna be crazy. But it turned out it was another guy named Goro on the other side. They were waving at him. We were like, boy. So this dude named Nas Teeth that's in the Yakuza too, he was like looking at the scene, looking around, trying to figure out what the heck was going on. This is gonna come into play later on. So Miro gets back home with Anna, and the thing is, she wants him to lead the gang life, you know what I'm saying? But bottom line is, everybody knows you can't get out the Yakuza unless you're dead or in jail, unless the complete gang gets taken over and they got disbanded. Anna should know better than that, like come on. And the reason she's saying this now is because she's about to take a trip to Sydney, Australia. She'll probably be there for a couple of weeks. And she really wants Miro to go, but Miro knows that he can't go right now. But he doesn't really tell her he wants to get out the life, you know what I'm saying? Because let's face facts, he ain't getting out the shit. Now, the situation with Miro is there's this story where his parents had died on death row, and both of them were part of the Yakuza. So Total Side, the real leader of the Hell Dogs, is basically his uncle or cousin or something like that. So he watched after him too. Yeah, I think this is uncle. Well, anyway, let's get to the meeting scene. Now, it comes to a point where Taki has got to meet up with these certain individuals, right? Because apparently he heard they're trying to team up with George, you know what I'm saying? They try to expand territories, but they're not trying to step on Taki's toes, you know what I'm saying? But Taki lets them know, fuck all that. Get what you're going to get, but bottom line is we're killing George. That's all there is to it. But the associate's like, well, we still got to give this stuff to George because we don't want to seem like traitors. So I'm thinking to myself, whose side are y'all on? But they know they're scared to death of Taki, so they're like, okay, we're going to make it do what it do. They're kind of playing both sides if you think about it, but anyway. He basically brings them a briefcase and gives them 300 million yen just to get some information. A whole lot of information. Then we get to the scene, they're just partying, you know what I'm saying? Girls come out, and now they're doing karaoke. Bad karaoke at that. So Goro's talking to one of the girls who happens, her name has to be Lucia, right? But it turns out she's a new girl. She's only been there for like a week and a half or whatever. So this new girl is about to fix Taki a drink. And Goro's looking at Miro like, hey, yo, back me up on this one. So while she had already fixed the drink, Goro stopped and was like, hey, take a sip of it first. Then he started yelling at the whole party stops. Then he says he could tell by the way her hand is shaking, she's an expert on knives. I'm like, how the fuck did he know that? So basically, she acted like she was about to take a sip of drink, and then she just tossed it, indicating that shit was poison. Yeah, I know he's an ex-former cop, but how the fuck did Goro know that? Goro and the girl get the fight, and he starts powerbombing her, beating the shit out of her. Get her done. And the guy's like, damn, we need to tighten up our security. The other girls are let off the hook. They're like, oh my God, we didn't know. So basically, they end up taking a girl and going through this like random spot. This guy opens up the garage door, and it looks like an abandoned warehouse that wasn't finished. But it's got like multiple floors. It's like a crisscross ways of directions and whatnot. So basically, they torturing her. They about to fucking skewer her eyeball out with a fucking, it's crazy. But while they're doing this, Taki's actually there, and he's thinking something's up. And he hears something going off inside her. We're like, oh shit, she got a goddamn tracker. Turns out she's an assassin, and she got a whole lot of niggas coming to this warehouse with shotguns and like that fireman type of body armor, but it's real thin. Okay, so basically in the city they're in, guns are illegal to carry around during the streets. So they don't usually carry them like that. They carry their knives and stuff like that, especially in this warehouse, which they might have had maybe 1 or 2 guns. So basically they got to use the warehouse to their advantage when these niggas come through busting. Which they do, they lay the smack down, they end up taking niggas' guns and they start busting on them. But like I said, it was a whole lot of these niggas. Bottom line, at the end of the battle, Barrack is done deal daddy shit. You know, he's one of the top lieutenants in command, you know what I'm saying, right under Taki. So after that, they riding back. Taki goes his own direction, you know what I'm saying? Miro, Goro, and the boys are riding in another car, and they start talking about these stories. They talked about the 3 girls in the supermarket story, yo. I was like, wow. Because Miro was the one that brought it up. Probably because of the conversation he had with the family. That kind of put Goro on alert, but he ain't saying nothing. So I guess a couple days rolled by, everybody's at the funeral paying their respects to this building. And trust me, every time you see these buildings, they always look elaborate. They always look like it's multiple different floors. There's a bunch of different areas and avenues every time you see one of these daggone buildings that they're all in. So they're trying to figure out who's going to fill the chain of command shoes. They end up being Goro. Now, before all this takes place, remember the dude's Nas teeth I was talking about earlier? Turns out he must have found out a little bit more information. He starts talking to Slick and telling her the dude Tak is actually Goro. I'm like, oh shit. The thing is, Slick don't want Nas teeth to tell nobody else yet. They the only ones that know. Then we get to the scene where Slick's in the bathroom, right? And Miro just starts going fucking crazy. And Miro starts going at Slick like, man, you wouldn't even be here if it was for our family's money, you know what I'm saying? I'm like, what the fuck? Then he just starts beating the shit out of him. Slick was barely even fighting back. You can't be using my name and not fighting back, Nick. But anyway, Miro ends up getting up by random steps or whatever like that. He tries to tell him that Taka's actually Goro. This nigga's actually a cop. But Miro's not believing that shit. But what kick-started this mayhem is because now Goro's being promoted. He's not going to be around Miro like that no more. So Miro's feeling some type of way. Then all of a sudden, Slick started fucking with him again. And that's how the whole beef really got started. So bottom line is, he's beating the shit out of Slick. And then he tosses some motherfucking steps. He fell like 10 feet straight down. 10 stories straight down. I'm like, what the fuck? And one of the Hell Dogs comes and sees him, just looks over at him like, you know what time it was. They start to beef. A dude had the knife. They was fighting all the way down to the outside. Goro's walking around. All of a sudden, you see the commotion. He's trying to get down there. They get outside. Miro finishes off another nigga. He done deal daddy shit. Goro tells Miro like, man, you gotta get up out of here, man. Like, come on, yo. You know what it is, yo. So you gotta roll. Cause you know they coming. And then 5 of them niggas came down the steps, saw the mayhem, saw Miro with the knife, and he had to dip out. Goro gets in one of the cars about to conduct the business or whatever. And then these motherfuckers in the car try him. He's like, get your motherfucking ass out of here. But the reason they're trying him is because Miro hasn't called them yet, and everybody knows Miro was like his right-hand man and shit. So they thought he might have influenced them or had something to do with it, but you know what I'm saying? Goro set their ass straight. Then he ends up getting out the car and going back to the spot where he ends up meeting up with the chief. Turns out the chief found out that Taki is actually undercover too. I'm like, what? And then Nina comes busting in out of nowhere. And she sees, you know what I'm saying, Goro. Then she's the chief like, what's up? I'm like, Nina's undercover too? But she's undercover because she's trying to stop the Yakuza from killing elephants and all this other stuff that they're trying to do with produce and whatever the situation was. Bottom line is she undercover. So Nina gets back to a situation where she go back to Totosai. But then Totosai ends up smacking her out the blue. But then he comes out and says, yeah, he knew she was fucking with Goro the whole time. So apparently after Bear's death, everybody just started going fucking crazy. He was that important to the squad. It's a back and forth tussle, but bottom line is Nina ends up killing Totosai. Guru ends up going back to the spot, and these other two people from the Yakuza, they start questioning stuff because they heard some things. So then Goro had to done deal both of them niggas is basically cover blown. Now Muro ends up going back to the spot to talk to Anna's best friend, because Anna's still in Sydney right now. So he wanted to dig up information on a cop by the name of Goro, who he doesn't know is Tak to him. So he gets some information. We're like, oh shit, does he know now? Well, it turns out he did know, because after Nina finished off Totosai, all of a sudden Miro came up out the blue. And he basically kidnapped her. So now Goro gets the one-on-one confrontation with Taki. And Taki ended up doing this research and was trying to call Goro's bluff, but bottom line is he did, and then he finally figured out that he was a cop too. But the thing is, Tak wants Goro to stay with him, you know what I'm saying, so they could team up and take over the world together or whatever. Now the thing is, throughout all this, they never finished off George. We never even seen who George was. So bottom line, even when they tried to shoot each other, they were still alive. They were shooting each other in the chest, but both of them had on goddamn bulletproof vests. But Goro ended up getting the upper hand and ended up breaking Taki's neck. Done deal, did his shit. It was crazy the way they were shooting back and forth until they got to a certain spot, because it was like they were shooting at a glass pane, but you couldn't really tell the way they were walking back and forth. It was crazy. Well, anyway, after that, Goro gets a message from Miro, and he gets a video telling him to meet me somewhere or whatever like that, and showing him on the side that he's got Nina. Final confrontation. Miro and Goro get together, and they have this crazy-ass back and forth with the words, yo. It's mind-blowing, tense, all that. After that, Goro gets to his gun before Miro does, shoots him, done deal in his head, did his shit. But the crazy thing is, right when Goro was about to kill himself, Nina stopped him. Then for the final scene of the movie, we get this scene of how Goro first met Miro. It was like this random bar fight. Miro gets caught in this sleeper hole and he's enjoying the pain and shit. And that's how the movie ends. I was like, yo, what? Bottom line, this is a hell of an experience. Every time you get a movie with some Yakuza stuff, it's always gonna be some wild shit. Movies like The Outsiders, Family, Night in Paradise. These are all movies I did on my channel, by the way. But anyway, Hell Dogs on Netflix. Check it out.